Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. Let's play some NewsTower. And we are at the offices of the Sounding Rocket in downtown New York City. It is March of 1930, and the previous videos covered my initial setup of my tower for 3 floors. And then we covered the first 2 months of gameplay, and now we're kind of into the grindy part of the game for a couple of months. We are almost out of money, and we don't have the ability to get a third page printer to up our readership too much. So we kind of have to just deal with that and grind on through for the next couple of months. We're going to try to knock 2 of those months out here. And we've got a couple of stories that are out there already. Let's take a look. We have a society story that leads to a politics story. Let's check out what we've got going on here. So East New York wants crime stories, and we have one already, and then they want tragic stories, okay? Well, we can probably clearly we can get at least half of that here, and maybe we'll have the rest. I don't recall what the Mafia wanted. No politics this week, okay? Well, that is something we might be able to do. This does have politics involved. We might not be able to do that too. We'll have to see. It just depends on what kind of stories come in that we have access to. We don't have a lot of control over that. We do have some control over that, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and populate this one as well. So these are crime stories and tragedy. So look at that. If we get this one done, we will meet the East New York requirement, or request, I guess. Request might be the right way to put it. Their demand. Okay, let's put Robert on this story. There we go. So those stories are assigned. We will go ahead and get started. So unpausing and moving forward. Now, we have 2 stories from last week, but this one has an old tag anyway. We are probably not going to want to print that. We will hold on to it just in case in a pinch we need to. We'll have something to fall back on. This is a politics story. Well, the Mafia would prefer we not print any politics this time around. But with that said, we don't have a threat from them. They're not threatening to send mobsters over if we do. So this is negotiable in my mind. We will use it if we need to. It's not an absolute have to avoid it at all costs kind of thing. This is more of a let's see what suits us best at the end of the week. Now I have a feeling we're going to have a trite week here. And one thing I have started to notice is the bottleneck is this guy. This is Steve Anderson. Steve is the problem. We're going to have to see what we can do about Steve. The problem is Steve has leveled up once. He's got 1 level of typesetting, and he's working on his 2nd level of typesetting. So he's already ahead of the curve. If we were going to replace him, we probably wouldn't be able to replace him with anybody better. It would just be somebody at Steve's level. So not a whole lot we can do there. But we might be able to find where there are some productivity bonuses for the typesetter. So I'm going to go ahead and assign Lucille to the second half of this story. Let her go. Oh, this one's ready too. Well, this is a politics story. We're not terribly excited about that, but we'll go ahead and do it. Okay, so what we can do for that, I'm going to pause for just a moment. We're going to go out to the map. I happen to know where, at least I think the majority of those are. They're right here in this Industry City Harbor, which we are kind of building towards, right? This is where we're at right now, and then we're going to hit this one so we can get there. The main reason we're coming out this way is to unlock Page Module 3. That'll cost us 16 prestige points. We only have 2. So even once we get here, we're not going to have 16 points to buy this guy. But at least when we have the points and we're ready, we'll be able to grab this when ready. That's why I like to build in this direction first. But secondly, we have the bonuses for the typesetter. We've got the day planner, which will only cost us 4 points. And eventually we can get the bulletin board, and that'll be another +1 for him. So this will be a +1 that will. The assembler also has a couple of things. Well, just the one thing out here. They have a calendar you can unlock. So those are good stuff. And then the globe, I guess. This is the big globe. This is for our telegraphers, and we're going to talk about that here real quick. I had been kind of balking at the word telegrapher. It didn't quite feel right, and it turns out that is not quite the right pronunciation. I checked it out on a bunch of different sites and dictionaries and linguists, and it turns out the appropriate pronunciation of the word is telegrapher. I was saying telegrapher, kind of like photographer, It's an E sound or an eh sound in there. So, but telegrapher is not correct. The funniest thing I found is looking for this information. I found one citation that said that telegrapher is not correct but acceptable. And I really don't know what that means. That was just a weird kind of thing for it to say. Anyway, moving on from that, I am going to go with telegrapher as best I can from this point forward. Laugh if you want. That apparently is the correct way. So, all right, what we're looking at here is getting to the point where they can do that. That's what I was going to talk about. So that is a large globe that'll sit on the floor, and it can benefit more than one of them at once, and it's a +2. So that's a great, great bonus. I don't think we have a lot of bonuses on the desks and walls for these folks, but we also don't have a whole lot of budget to work for. We can put globes on their desks. We already have access to that. There's like posters and that. We already have the crime board up. In fact, one thing I did notice, and maybe we go ahead and do this right now, the folks that are our crime reporters are also our entertainment reporters. And one thing we can do is if their desks are next to each other, like this, we can use just one of these boards to cover both of them. So we can sell this board. I'm going to go ahead and sell it since we are really hurting for money. It's only 25 bucks, but it's 25 bucks. So this board will benefit both of those guys because it's in their catchment zone for where they get their bonuses from. And then when we have access to entertainment items, we can put another one there that they share. So we only have to buy one of each of those instead of two. There are other things that folks can share. The globe, we probably move this guy over and put the globe in between them. I think the waste paper basket, yeah, that can go under a desk. So perfect. We'll be able to put a big globe in there eventually, and it'll benefit both of those folks. They'll be able to go about their work more efficiently. Okay, let's get moving forward. Here comes a story. Hey, look at that, politics. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get around politics this week. So we're going to go ahead and report on this part of the story and this part of the story. And we'll see what happens. We might get done with this. So it's Wednesday. This won't be done until Thursday. Thursday to Friday will be another day. If this story takes more than a day, we won't even have the option to print it, which there's good and bad in that. Politics, if we end up trying to meet the mafia's request, we won't be able to print the story, period. But if we do print the story, it's five tags, and one of them silver. That's good. That's a lot of readers. Readers equal money. So that's important, and we do need to pay attention to that. And here we have an entertainment story with gossip attached. Imagine that. Where was this? Portland, out in Portland, Oregon. We've got gossip attached to a story. Okay. I would expect LA or something like that. Although in 1930, LA wasn't really Hollywood yet. Interestingly enough, of all places, one place that has a claim to fame for a lot of what was happening in the movie industry at the time is where I'm from, St. Louis, Missouri. And that's a long and complicated story, but there were a lot of actors and actresses that would stay in major hotels down in the city because it had access to the West via train pretty easily. And you also had it was a major metropolitan area. At one point, St. Louis was the 12th largest city in the world. It is much, much, much deprecated from that role. But interestingly enough, but we might expect some of those stories to pop up in St. Louis. Nonetheless, let's keep moving forward here. And we are running low on food. We're gonna go with the small order there because again, we are really hurting on money. Really, we probably need paper as well, if we're being honest. There's none on the shelves. I can't see how we can't need paper, so we're gonna go ahead and buy some. And we're down to $110, and that's after we sold that thing for 25. We would have been in double digits on our money right now. That's not great. Okay, this story is a day long. If we use Lucille, it's going to make it 18 hours. If we use Robert, it'll stay at 24. Now, here's why I'm talking about this. I like to use these reporters that need points later in the week because there's really no chance this story makes it for Sunday. It just isn't going to. So if the story doesn't complete until next week, it won't get a late label. And so I like to go ahead and do that. I'll drop him on here. He won't finish the story until late Sunday. It won't be assembled in that until Monday. Now, I don't know if the late tag applies to when the story is completed or when it is assembled. Might need to check on that, do a little bit of experimentation. One thing I did discover in my personal playthrough, I didn't realize that a story's tag might change during the week. So this one was already old news at the beginning of the week. It appears to me that some of these stories that carry over might gain that flag during the week. Now, we're not seeing that on this one so far, so that's interesting to me. But I'm almost positive I had a situation where a flag suddenly showed up as, or a news article suddenly showed up as old news halfway through the week. I get it. I just didn't know the game engine did that. I probably bet dollars to donuts that at one point it did not do that. And it is something that has been added in one of the refinements in an update. Nothing wrong with that. I do like to know how the game works, though, and so that's an important one to kind of know about. Okay, we're going to fast forward to the end of Sunday to give ourselves the most options for what we print. That'll do it. That's close enough. Probably could have been... Oh, there we go. Well, there's a movie poster. So this is something we'll apply to the wall. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're not going to be able to afford it. $110. We will be able to afford that. We are paused. So let's come out here and we'll go to reporting accessories and we will have this movie poster. And if we drag this to right here, you'll see it gives both of them a +1. So let's do that. They'll both have +1 in their entertainment reporting now. So this is one reason we want to keep these desks kind of close together and kind of orderly. There are cons to having your reporters share the same story possibilities, and that is if you've got them both assigned to sports and they're also both of your crime reporters, well, guess what? You don't have anybody to work a crime story right now. So if their items match up identically, there's probably good, this particularly, being able to share items, and bad in that. So just something to consider, and you're welcome to play whatever strategy you think works best for you. Okay, we want to minimize these. I like to see the tags versus the story names. I do enjoy the story names. For the purposes of doing a Let's Play or a tutorial or whatever you want to call this, that gets a little tedious to kind of pay attention to. So forgive me for kind of skipping over that part, but that's where I'm at with it. Now, this story is not ready, and like I said, I thought it was going to be really close. We almost got there. It still needs probably like 6 hours. It certainly isn't going to be less than, yeah, we're 31 minutes from the deadline. So definitely isn't going to be 31 minutes. We're not going to be able to print this story. That's unfortunate because that would have been a great one to put in our ×3 slot. So let's see if that story is old news next week. That's probably going to be our good litmus. We'll see that by the end of the video, and I'll try to remember to pay attention to that. Well, we're going to go with our biggest hitter then, and that's this one with 3 tags. We're going to drop him here, and then we're just going to do our best to match. And let's see, he doesn't have politics. We are going to end up printing a lot of politics, even though the Mafia doesn't want us to, because it's half of the stories we have available. So I'm going to put this guy here. We're going to go ahead and go with the old news. We'll put it here so that we get the tag match here. I generally don't like printing these if I don't have to. You do have hidden agendas where don't print any old news is the idea. So I don't know that there's a penalty to printing this. I just don't know that well, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on what the long-term effects are of printing that. I would think that there would be a penalty, and I don't really see one yet, other than if you've got that hidden agenda mission going. All right, well, that's all we can do. Oh, this one is ready. Okay, I missed that. So if we go back over here, well, that was entertainment. So that's a 2 tag match. Let's do that instead. We're gonna swap these out. I did miss that. My apologies. So we'll put this story here. So we don't have any old news on the front page. Again, not that it actually matters, but for posterity's sake, that's what we're gonna do. And then we'll put this guy here and this guy here, and that's a match. And so we're at 58,500, and that may be a new record for us. I can't quite remember. We'll know in just a minute. Just kind of making sure I got everything. I'm double checking that I didn't misunderstand any of those. I don't think I did, so we're going to start. Considering we're a little behind the curve here, we did have record sales. 58,500. I'm going to write that down so we kind of can pay attention to that as we move forward. I'm wondering who this quote is. I have started to look some of these up, and these tend to be real quotes that are happening over here. These kinds of things that you kind of expect would be, I'm off to Broadway. Okay, I'm sure somebody has said that at some point, but some of these, and what I saw was some of them are not from 1930, believe it or not. I don't have a problem with that really, but it did spark some curiosity, and I started doing some digging into some of their quotes, and the one I found was first cited in like 1974 or 76, something like that. So a few decades after we're actually printing this paper, but there's nothing wrong with that. I like the integrity that they've put into looking up stories and using them. The game is not unlimited in how long you can play right now, in part because the news matches the actual real-world cycle, and they have to research all that. So I appreciate that. We now have 3 more influence points, so that's good. We should be sitting at $2,100 before we pay salaries. I think we have like, is it $700 in salaries we're paying right now? That's good. He wasn't happy with us, but he's not sending mobsters either, so it is what it is. And he was going to yell more stuff at us. I usually don't pay close attention to it. I haven't seen where it drives storyline at all or has any other long-term impact. And yeah, $736 in salaries. Nobody got a raise this time. So we will leave the recap and let's see where we're heading. Well, I think we want to go here. I do want to try to unlock this stuff. If we can get that bonus for our typesetter, which is in this building, that will be really helpful. We now have access to the police station as well. And there is something that's great over here that we should take a look at. That is the security booth. Now, we don't have to buy it yet, and we can unlock it and hire the security guard in the same moment when it's time. We do have the points if we want it to, but what this will do is we can hire a security guard. It is more salary, but they will stand guard, and if we have mobsters come in, they throw them out of the building. They will also deal with protesters and mitigate some of that nonsense that happens. But in general, their best feature is they throw the mafia guys out of the building. So let's go ahead and go with this one. We're already meeting 2 of those. That's great. We're going to go with that. And the mafia does not have any jobs for us today. If they did, there would be a hidden agenda icon in here between these 2. It's not there, and they're not flashing with the little bubble above them, so we're in good shape. If we talk to him, oh, we can't even see him, can we? There he is. The deal's off. Yeah, he's not happy with us, so. All right. Not that I encourage you to get the mafia angry at you, but in this game, as long as he's just angry and not sending mobsters, not a big problem. All right. Well, as we can see, we are out of paper. We're going to need to order some more of that. That's going to put us down to about $800. We are cash poor right now. We are also prestige poor. I don't like that combination. I think we're going to see things step up here a little bit over the next week or 2. Let's just get on with it and see what happens. Did we have a story hit? Oh, there it is right there. So this story just hit. It is politics. We don't have to worry about not printing stories. And look at this. Alarming. If we do this half of the story, we get the alarming tag. And I think we have to do both halves of this one. This is not a pick 'em. This is a do them both, and then there's something else to do later. Okay, 54%. So if you roll over their skills, oops, I'm going to pause there. If you roll over their skills, you'll see how far they are to the next level. And I do kind of watch that a little bit. I've noticed it tends to be factors of 6, at least early on. So I'm assuming like every story gives them 6 more percentage points to the next level. Something like that is my guess. Close to that if that's not exactly it. But nonetheless, we can kind of see who is newer or who might be about to advance in that. With Elaine having no skill points so far, I'm going to go ahead and use her. Start getting her closer to that next point. That'll, like, she's at 54%. This will put her at 60. That's pretty good. She'll be gaining that point, which will allow her to do these stories faster. Our second story here looks like it's going to be in Florida somewhere. Banker kidnapped. It's a crime. Looks like it's Miami. I saw it just briefly there as it was flipping. I'm not sure how you get that to stay. Maybe if you roll over them, do they show up eventually? Nope, it shows you the name of the story, not the location. But if you click it real quick, it said Miami there. And sometimes you'll see it hang out on some other screens. I just haven't figured out how to lock it so you'd see it when you want to. Nonetheless, so we have Lucille, who is at 28%, and we have Robert, who's at 33%. She's got some points in entertainment already. Let's go ahead and use Robert. And there we go. Now, to look at this, in case we haven't covered it, the blue echelons here tend to indicate levels that are gained due to items. So Lucille is a 0, and she has one crime item that gives her the bonus, and that would be that crime map that we put on her wall. She has 2 points in entertainment, but one of those is due to the poster that we put on her wall. So she's got one natural skill in entertainment. Doesn't make a difference that it's blue or not. She's at 2 points right now, so she'll do stories at 2 points worth of effort. That's great. Let's move on. And we're at the second half of the story here. Okay, we don't have anybody available, but Charlotte should be coming around here any moment. There she is. Oh, they both hit. We are paused. So this is Society. We're going to go with Charlotte again. She was the first one available. I think she worked the first half of the story. Actually, I'm not going to swear by that. I can't remember for sure. And we're going to use Elaine for this story anyway. I don't know that there's any kind of benefit to the journalist, the reporter, to do multiple parts of a story, other than they get points for the parts they complete. So not a real need to keep any particular person on any part of a story. And there we go. Oh, we have, this looks like crime in Milwaukee. Go figure. Okay, so we're going to want to go and see what's happening in Milwaukee. So crime will be a hot topic. So the hot topics tend to hit Thursday at midnight. It's what it looks like to me. And this is an interesting one. We have 2 parts. One of them is Risk of Mobsters. That's outstanding. We love it when mobsters come around, don't we? The other one doesn't have that, but we do have 2 reporters available. No big benefit to one or the other. What this will give us, if we complete these stories and we get them printed, they will be the hot topic, so crime will count as double, and that's a good thing. So we're going to get the little randomizer here, and we're really hoping it says lucky you, and it's not. It's going to be in the middle. You'll kind of learn the pattern as to how that winds down. One mobster, not the worst, and I'm not sure if we've had any yet. I think we have. No, maybe not. Well, I think it does this no matter what. So the car shows up, he gets out, he comes in, and he busts things up. All right. Now we have an option here right now. As I mentioned, we do have the ability to hire the security guard. The one thing is, I'm not sure we can afford the security booth and the security guard. It'll be tight. We're going to give it a try, though. So we're going to go out to the map. We're going to go to the police station. We're going to go down to this, and we're going to obtain the security booth. And there it is. Oh, the security booth is a lot less expensive than I thought it was. I thought it was maybe $750. I think that said $150. So let's go see. Close the map. We come over here. It is considered a utility. That's this one. And there it is, $150. Look at that. Well, this is going to be good for us. So we're going to put them right there. I usually put them right next to the door, and it doesn't matter a whole lot right now. And we're going to hire Nancy Smith as our security guard. She's only worth $45 because she has no points in anything. We don't have anybody else that is a security guard. We don't want to roll if we don't have to, so we're going to hire Nancy for now. She should be able to handle one mobster. So she's now in her booth, and she's going to go to the steps to deal with the mobster. You can see she's already walking. So let's watch what happens here. So he's coming in with a bat. Oh, she went to get water first. Okay. She's probably going to wait for him to come up here, and then she's going to toss him the heck out. There he is. And she's like, and she threw him, and now it takes her this long to recover, and then she'd be able to deal with another one if there had been multiple mobsters. So she did her job. I mean, we could fire her now, but she's done a good job for us, and why the hassle? We're gonna leave her on staff here. She's protecting the workers. Everybody loves her. She tells funny jokes when they come in, you know, so they're all happy with Nancy there. And there's another story coming in. Okay, this is when I know you get to see the city. So these are Chicago. Technically, it's also Milwaukee. It's funny to me that Milwaukee has a crime story because I have had my car stolen exactly one time, and it was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin when it happened. That's just awesome. Fun story, too. The police wouldn't really take a police report. I think they did eventually, but it happened to be April 1st, which, if you're in the United States, you know is April Fool's Day. We did not live in Milwaukee. We had driven 2 hours to get to Milwaukee to take an airplane somewhere, and when we came back, the car was gone, and the police said, well, it was probably just some friends pulling an April Fool's joke on you. We didn't really appreciate that because we were 2 hours from home and didn't know what was going to happen, and ended up staying in a hotel an extra night, and we couldn't afford that to begin with. And then we had to rent a car to get home, and we couldn't afford that, and you can see where this goes. So yeah, that's my experience in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have some great friends who live there right now, though, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. Okay, so we have the sports, and of course I did not pause, so I just let time waste by while I twisted your ears there about Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I stand behind what I said, though. And we'll go ahead and, yeah, there we go. We'll drop Charlotte in on this part of the story. This probably is not going to get done. With this being 2 tags, it'll probably be an hour and a day and a half story, so it's going to have to sit for next week. Let's real quick, while I'm thinking about it, take a look at this story with all those points. This was it, right? I think this was it. It's still not marked as old news, so I'm glad to see that. Let's see what happens by Sunday night. And we do have a few of the hot topic stories in play. How many stories do we have ready right now? 1, 2, 3, and is that it? That's it. We're going to have to step up the game here a little bit. This is our bottleneck. I think I already started to say that. He's our slow poke, but we're going to try to get him some help. And I think once we are able to do that, we will see a huge increase in his performance. Okay, it is Friday. It is Friday evening, at least late afternoon. Yeah, 5 o'clock. Here we go. Fast forwarding. We're into Saturday. No new stories coming. Right here comes one. And there's the second half of a story. It is only one more day. That's interesting. However, it's going to be the end of Sunday. It will not make the next paper. We don't even have anybody who can report on it yet. So we're going to have to hang on a second. And there's the presses. And we're going to get another story right there. And so we're going to drop this on. Now, I can't remember if I said this last week or not. I think I did. I tend to like to use the end of the week to put people on stories where they don't have points, just because there's not as much pressure. I know there's no way they're getting the story done in time. Just not happening. So we can put them on there. Now, I don't have a choice here, obviously. It doesn't really matter. But if I had a choice, and this guy had 3 points and this one had 1 or none, I'd probably put the lower end person on it. Also, it's kind of a throwaway story anyway. It only had 1 tag. If I want to use it for next week, or if I have too many stories for next week, excellent chance it's not going to make it. But they still get their experience just for completing the story. So it doesn't have to print for them to gain benefit from it. Okay, let's fast forward to the end of Sunday. And that is right about now. Okay, and we are paused. We do have, it looks like we have 6 stories that are good to go. All right, I'm excited about that. We're going to hit the printing button, and let's see what we actually have. None of those flipped to old news, so I think that does tell us, as long as a story is not assembled by the print run of the previous week, it is not old news. So I guess I just misinterpreted what I saw. I apparently had an old tag that I didn't realize. It isn't one that popped up in the middle of the week, because this story would otherwise be old news by now, because it was 11 o'clock at night when we were looking at it last. So I'm not willing to run the risk of running over the deadline here to make absolutely sure of that, but I'm pretty confident we would know at this point. So this is good. We have a lot of tags to pick from, and we have a lot of matches that are available. Two ways we can approach this, and I think this is what I'm going to do. This, obviously, the most tags, it's going to be our top story. We're going to match these two with it. So we're going to have a lot of silver on the first page, and that's good. We're going to have over 100,000 readers. In fact, we might make it to double our previous high. Let's see what happens. But we're going to go with the crime stories that are the hot topics. We're going to put one here. That's worth 2 matches, and this will be worth a match. Okay, and the interesting thing is when you add a story, it only gives you points for the number of icons on that story that match other stories. You don't get a match for this story and a match for this story. That's just something to be kind of clear about. It only gave us a plus 2,500, and it does show you that pretty clearly as the graphic goes by there. So do keep that in mind. We're at 79,000, and we have a page to go, and we have 3 stories to put, including 5 more tags. In the ×2, we're already up to 109,000. So our previous high of 58,500, that would be, what would that be? 117,000 stories. We might make it. It's going to be close. I don't know that we'll make it quite that far because I don't think we have any more matches at this point. Just under 500 short of double. That's okay. Double doesn't get us anything extra. I was just thinking maybe that would be kind of cool. These stories are not ready. Yeah, this one isn't close. This one isn't close. I do want, well, there's nothing to check. First of all, I have it open anyway. Do like to pay attention to these. If we can complete these, it's better to complete these than not, because then you have to come back another week to finish them otherwise. And if you don't have the stories already lined up, you just don't know if you're going to get them. This time, this isn't something we even need to consider. Close that, and we're going to print the paper. And there it goes. Okay, but government building, record sales, yay, we did know that was coming, and I'm going to make a quick note of that because we just might want to know in the future. Who rang the bell? Okay, I don't know what that's about, but then it was an alarming story. Okay, they really did their research like never before. Great. Those are good comments to have. We're going to get 4 points. We did spend a couple, right? We bought the security guard's hut, but this is good, and the money is great. 4,600 of it came today. No hidden agenda, though. That's a pretty good haul for one day, at least based on what we had been seeing. We pick up Flatbush. Now again, these, we talked about this in a previous video. These points are already accounted for on the previous page right here. So it's not like more points on top of the 4 that we earned. We have earned 4 points for this run of the paper. And that's them. There was no hidden agenda. And we're to salaries. This will definitely go up because we hired somebody. Went up just a little bit. There we have it. Haven't taken out a loan. Let me show you how that gets done here real quick. We'll end the video with that. Well, actually, we have to do this part first. So the Mafia does have another story for us. That's great. Let's see what they want. They want alarming tags. There's no threat of mobsters if we don't fulfill it. And I don't mind this one because it tends to be something we get pretty easily. And honestly, it's just free money. It's not any kind of other pain. In fact, even if we don't print any of these, it'll consider it a success because it's just multiplying the number we have by $500. It doesn't care how much money they pay us. That might be something that's considered a bug and gets changed in the future, but for now, I'm all for that. Okay, we want to maybe get to the Empire State Building. Let's see what this one looks like. Well, we know we're already on the way there, and politics will more than likely come up at some point. I think we're going to go with Wall Street. Let's look at this one, though. We have none of those right now, and no guarantee we will get them. These are all second tier, right? These are additional tags, right? They're bronze and then the silver one, but none of these are story style tags where these are. Well, this one is anyway. They both are. What am I saying? They both are. We can control that a little better. There's only 6 possible stories. We already have this one, so we have a good shot of a politics story coming up, or a politics tag anyway. So we're going to go with Wall Street. Select it. We've got check marks here, and we're on to the next week. So let me show you about a loan real quick, since we haven't covered that yet. If you need a loan, you go up here and you click on money, and it brings up this page. Let's close these so we can see that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Clicking anything gets rid of it, so we'll do that again. There it is. So it shows us money we expect to be coming in, how much we're expecting to pay out. This is the emergency printing. This is the money it spends because we don't have enough paper in the building, and it goes and buys paper on its own. And these are our current costs. It does not give us any kind of revenue because it doesn't have any kind of revenue for us right now. So to borrow money, we literally would click the up arrow or the down arrow, and it would tell us how much it's going to be. And basically you're paying 1% per thousand that you borrow. And you can go up to 10,000. So there you have it. I don't need to borrow any money right now, so I'm not going to, because we're just throwing money away if we do that. Does this actually turn? It does not. I thought that might turn pages. This does show you your net balance over time. That's kind of cool. You know, so there are a couple of charts on here that could be interesting or helpful. I do like seeing this. Oh, well, look at that. I didn't realize this. So as you click through there, it shows you historically what you had. We sold inventory that. Remember, we sold that crime board. That was $25. That same month, we made $2,300 in sales. Here's our record sales of $4,660. Just under double. Again, your number of sales and your number of sold papers are going to be tightly coupled, right? It's a direct correlation relationship. So there you have it. I don't know, money lost due to taking risks like lawsuits. Okay, well, that makes sense. I bet bribes would go in. Oh, nope, here's deals and bribes. Okay, look at this, a whole new page I didn't even know existed that might provide some insight into the game as we move forward. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. I really appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying this. I certainly am. I'm looking forward to turning out a couple of more of these. The next couple of months do continue to be a little bit of grind, but we'll try to talk about interesting stuff in the meantime while we're kind of working through that. Hope to see you, and please subscribe, like, comment. All those things are much appreciated. Love to hear what you're thinking about the game, what you're thinking about how I'm playing it. I'd prefer you not be overly critical, but if you've got pointers, I'm more than welcome to listen to some of that. I am not an expert at any of these games I play, and I don't plan to be. So there you have it. Again, thank you. I really appreciate you watching, and until next time, fair travels.